Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Lala, international real estate agent, and your host for today. And today, we're breaking down the 2024 presidential debates. We're fact-checking the candidates, analyzing their policies, and discussing what really resonated with us as Black women. We'll also tackle who should be voting for moving forward and what all this means for our Black community. But today I am joined by my beautiful and fabulous co-queens, Moya, our tax professional, Athena Gardner, our CPA and wealth coach, and Vanessa Gopal, who has a master's in public policy. She's an entrepreneur and international travel advisor. We got two international folk up on here, y'all. We are good. This is going to be hot because we were anticipating this to happen. We never knew it was going to come or not come, and it finally came, and now we have a lot of things to discuss. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the ending statements of Trump. If you didn't get to watch the debate, these are the ending statements. We're going to talk about his ending statements, and then we're going to talk about Harris's ending statements, and then really break it down. But while we're watching this video, I want to know if you, those who are watching us, are family. Let us know if you watched the debates and what you were thinking about it and what are your thoughts now. So let's check out what Trump has to say.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failure.
All right. We're going to start with our Trump today. So y'all can't say we ain't giving him equal time, but I do want to hear from the ladies on the panel. First of all, by show of hands, tell me who all watched the debate, please. Oh, yay! Yes, I love you, sisters. I love you, queens. You watched it. I am going to start with you, Athena. What was your initial thoughts? I know we started with Trump, but what were your initial thoughts to the debate in whole?
Listen, I know I'm not only, I think, independent queen on this panel. So when I normally watch these things, I'm like, okay, I'm here listening to everybody's sales pitch because everybody's going to be full of it and give us promises that they don't deliver on. But I was like, you know what? It's good that we have this debate overall just to see where each side stands on certain issues. And to be honest with you, Lala, I'm still kind of like torn just a little bit because I feel like, you know, the Republican Party does have better standing on some things. Of course, Kamala, you know, my sister, has a strong point when it comes to like women's rights and things that concern me. So I can understand some people feeling torn. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. I'm not going to make any comments about that because everybody has a right to their feelings. And I want everybody to understand that. Listen, a lot of us here have different views than what Trump does. I'm an independent as well. So I am an independent, and I made sure that I was an independent after the last election. So I am registered as an independent out of the state of Florida with DeSantis. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to you, Vanessa. Vanessa, what were your thoughts? I know I want to hear from you because I know you got some facts to talk about. What was your thoughts?
Well, you know, honestly, I thought Kamala was going to come in and like murder him. I feel like she gave him some grace like the first 20 minutes. But I do think that she effectively won the debate. I mean, we have to, you know, there are certain economic policies. I'm an independent as well. There are certain economic policies that I do agree with on the conservative side. Not necessarily, I don't like Trump though. I just don't like him. But I do agree with them on the conservative side, and also with educational policies with vouchers and how we're allowing the public school system to fail and just get money. So there are some things. But overall, I think Kamala definitely was focused on the small businesses as a platform, which they've been focused on through this whole term. And then also she was focused on home ownership. So what I didn't like is I really didn't hear anything come out of Trump's mouth that had to do with policy. It was more so him running from her, kind of defending himself, because he's a narcissist, and just talking about things that really don't have any value. So I think that Kamala tried to bring up some of the policies that she would push for, which I do believe will help Black voters. And a lot of people say that she has not done a lot for Black voters, but when you come back around, that's just simply not true. So
Right. Now,
Kamala killed it.
some people are saying that she wasn't fact checked a lot, but I don't find that true because there are checking sites. One that I specifically like to go to because they're fair and unbiased is factcheck.org. And they did catch a couple things that she was like, they were like, that's not completely true, but that's not completely false as well. So here we are expressing what we know to be true and not to be true. And I feel just like you, Vanessa. I feel like I didn't get anything out of Trump. I wasn't expecting anything because I could tell you in my sleep what all he says every time he goes live. But I didn't hear not one policy that he was going to use in this other than just being on the defensive and attacking back. That was my problem. I had a serious problem with that. Gone are the days of the old debates where, people were civil. And I just feel like this was just pretty much a circus. But I'd like to hear what you think, Moya. Moya, what were your initial thoughts on the debate itself?
Well, I know that, everyone was talking about being fact checked. I think there's only really two times that Donald Trump was really, quote unquote, fact checked on stage. And that's when he made very egregious statements in terms of the cats and dogs. And then in regards to, I think it was abortion. So those are the main times. Otherwise, they let him go. And in fact, I haven't even heard that they let him get way more time than she received. So that's another thing, that he really was able to lay out a lot more points than she was. And I have to say this, Athena, you living in Florida, you being Jamaican, you don't have the ability to be undecided anymore. You got your state is so important.
To be honest, I kind of know who I'm voting for, but I'm not, I'm not going to be crucified on this platform, so I'm not going to reveal. But I know
crucified. So that means you're voting in a certain direction that is opposed to your values?
No, I'm voting in line with my values because I'm always promote you need to vote for what makes sense for you and what is for your benefit as a person. And as a woman, certain things that I just can't let slide through, but I'm not gonna just I'm not gonna say who specifically. But
that's fair. But let's talk about that, guys, because this is something that is very important to talk about. Now, I'm 54 years old. My mother made sure that she took me to the voting polls with her every election, and she voted in every election. From a little girl, I knew how important voting rights were, but I also remember my mother always saying, it's not polite, young lady, to ask someone who they're voting for. That's someone's personal business. We seem to have gotten away with that, where people expect us to say who we're voting for and why. Where I'd like to know, your thoughts on it. Do you think this is a good thing? Does this help with the division that we're having? Or do you think it's good for us to be quiet about what exactly we're going to be voting for because it's our personal preference? And I'm going to hear what you say about that, Vanessa.
I think and this is just, my opinion, I think all Black people should be independent. Because when you align yourself to just automatically support a party, then they have, less incentive to do things for you because they already know that they're supported. It's sort of like, this idea, like tipping your, if a waiter or waitress already knows that they're going to get a $50 tip every time, then some people naturally just may do a good job because they do a good job. But other people may not have an incentive to continue to do their job. So I think what we've done as Black voters, especially Black women, is we hold up the Democratic ticket like no other race. It is Black women who do it single handedly. I believe 89% of Black women vote Democratic. So I think when we get away from this issue that you don't have to work for our vote, then I think it becomes a slippery slope. I think that both parties, I think, should always be on edge and should always work to meet our values. So I think in that sense, you see some of the failures in the education system through some of the Democratic policies, and you see some of the other failures because they just know that 90% of the time we're going to go Democratic. So I think every Black voter should be a registered independent voter. That's my opinion. In terms of asking people what they are, I believe that we should just look at policies. In my community, I tend to vote conservative for local things, and on a regional and national platform, I tend to lean more Democratic. But that isn't to say that I have not voted the other way. I just look at the policies. I look at the policies, the people, who's sitting on my school board. Do I want, homeless tents in front of my house? I look at everything that works for me and balance it out.
And do you mind, which state are you in?
I'm in the Valley of Los Angeles. We are actually one of the last conservative districts in the Valley. We're,
Yes.
it's also some of the cleanest and the best schools too. So, I mean, yeah, I vote for those things more than anything, because those things affect me and my child and my family.
Right. And I am double stated and double countryed. So I have Florida and I also have California. Most of my business is in California, a lot in
Yeah.
Florida, and some in Portugal. So I'm traveled around 3 different places. So all 3 of those areas are important to me, especially Kentucky, because that's my home state. So I do look at those states specifically to see what is important and compare those to my loved ones and my family as well. Moya, I do want to hear what your thoughts are on. Do you think it's good that we just come out and say what we are? Do you think that works against us? Do you think it's even polite now to ask that, like, whereas it didn't used to be?
I think where we're at right now, because we're so divisive, I think it's important to have conversations. Because many times what I've noticed is that people are willing to vote against their values and vote against, or let me say, vote against what would be beneficial to them. So when we talk about him saying, I believe police need to have immunity, whoa, that's super serious for a group of people who've already shown that Black people, they don't really care about our lives. So now when you make a statement like that, how are we going to say, and I'm just going to the comment that just flashed across the screen in terms of ladies get off the slave ship. Like, in what way are we on a slave ship when we're saying
Right.
we need policies in place that move us forward? And if you're talking about $25,000 for a home down payment, we're talking about economic wealth. So what slave ship are we on?
I'd like to know, because you know what, every policy affects us, whether, no matter who's at the helm, who's in the White House, red or blue or yellow. Okay, it doesn't matter. All the policies direct us in some sort of way. I think I know that you stated just a little bit, how you feel about that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on, do you still think it's polite? Do you think that it's actually divisive for us to tell people exactly and just let them rest on their laurels on how we're going to vote?
I can only share what I've been doing, right? I have friends who are people in my life who are voting for Trump, and I have people in my life who are voting for Kamala, right? Different opposing views, all kind of ethnicities, everything. People are scared to have conversations because I have friends who are different races. I'm very open-minded, but I can tell they're like, oh, because I'm a Black woman, if I'm not all the way voting for Kamala, this might be an uncomfortable conversation. And actually, one of my best friends is a white woman, and she is voting. It sounds like she's leaning Trump vans. And we still have those conversations. I don't let politics get in the way of relationships, because at the end of the day, you're gonna check what you want to check anyway. I'm gonna check what I want to check anyway. And that is the right. But what concerns me, and what has also come up, and it's mostly with my Black friends, that if you do not, basically, if you're not voting for Kamala, that if you vote for Trump, if you align for Trump in any kind of way, like I can't even be friends with you, right? And for me personally, I guess I'll just share right now. I have my ballot, my mail-in order ballot already that came into the mail. I'm just letting it cook because I just don't want to turn it in until I'm ready to turn it in. But I'm probably gonna vote for Kamala because I'm a woman. Certain issues and things affect me. I don't want Trump to be in office and stack the Supreme Court with like Republicans and all these other police immunity, all these other things that affect me as a Black person and as a woman, right? But also, I don't think it is healthy for us to subscribe to the idea that just because people have different political affiliations that we need to just discount them altogether.
Athena, you hit it on the head from my heart. I honestly feel like the real people who want to change, it doesn't matter what side you're on, are willing and open to have a conversation and not arguments. I do have some Republican friends that are voting for Trump, but the difference is we've sat down and we've talked about why. And I've brought up things to them that they didn't think about. And they were like, oh, and then they've brought up things to me where I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that either. So it allows us to go and research the things that we need to research and then come back together and talk. And 9 times out of 10, y'all, we actually want the same thing, but we're literally going about it different ways. So I believe the problem is we need to be able to come and talk in order to establish a really good foundation. And I would love to hear what others are saying, our family and our comments. Please make sure you keep them coming along. I definitely want to highlight what Big Mac is. Hi, Big Mac. We know you're here every day. We love you. He said, honestly, it doesn't matter who wins. It's not going to stop anything I'm doing. I adjust to any politicians or conditions. I'm just worried about people who can't be in my situation. Correct. You know, there are people who will definitely not benefit from some of the politics that are going on our other side. Someone's always going to be unhappy. And all you have to do is just go on social media and sue who that is. But if you're just now joining us, you're watching Fly Nubian Money. We're here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We actually talk about things that affect our community. And this is what we like to do. We like to talk. And we like for you to talk back to us so that we can have a good conversation. We love all views. You are welcome here. And this is a safe place to talk about where you fall within politics, money, anything that we talk about. We'd love to hear from you. So if you don't want to miss an episode, all you got to do is text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. And you'll get a notification of when we go live. And if you can't do this every day, take us on the go. Take us on that jog. Take us on that working thing at Starbucks, wherever you are that day. Take us and listen to us on Spotify. All you have to do is look up Fly Nubian Money, and you will have us on the go as well. Now, ladies, we start with Trump. And so now what we're going to do is to move into some of Harris's videos from the debate, and then we'll go into further discussion. In the meantime, before we move to that video, keep the comments coming. We love hearing what you got to say. And I'm going to pose the same question that I posed to my queens. Do you think it's rude to ask people, how they're going to vote? Or do you think, they should truly be able to keep that to themselves if they don't want to volunteer that information? Let's go ahead and move on to what Vice President Kamala Harris has to say.
Instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country.
All right, so now we have actually heard from Vice President Kamala Harris, and this was mostly her opening statements during the debate. And I would love to hear your initial thoughts to what she said, because to me, I feel like she came out ready to talk about where stances are and trying to keep the focus on what the issues were. Let's begin with you, Maya. What were your thoughts about Vice President Kamala Harris?
Yeah, so when she opened the debate, she started with she's grew up middle class, and I think she immediately grabbed the listener, and I think that's very, very important. I do want to highlight on one of the comments. I'm going to be responding to quite a bit of the comments because I think they're very interesting. So one of the people said that the $25,000 is earmarked for immigrants, and do we really feel like we're going to get it? So in 2008, Obama had $7,500 that he earmarked for homeowners credit. So, and then in order to apply for a loan, and Lala, you're able to expand upon this, you have to have certain documents, starting with the social security number, in order for you to receive a loan and thereby qualifying for a credit. So this is something that's very, very possible, very, very doable because we've done it before. This isn't brand new. And so we just have to be open to the policy so that way we can see how it benefits us.
And I'm glad you did bring that up, because a lot of people do have a false understanding of what that is. You do still have to have certain documentation in order to receive that and get that at a grant. It's not that easy. It's not like they can walk into a loan officer and say, I want that money. No, you still have to show paperwork. You still have to show income. You still have to show a lot of times that you've been paying into our system. And a lot of times, a lot of the immigrants that do get benefit from this have been here for years. Some of them are children of the immigrants who came here and now are citizens, but not quite, because their parents were not. So there is a long list of checks that you need to do before you get that $25,000. And thank you for bringing that up, because I do believe most people don't understand that process. Athena, after watching Vice President Kamala's opening statements, what are your thoughts? What did you think from the beginning? Do you think she was strong and came out, or do you think she was just like, oh, we're getting ready to do this?
I think her opening statements, I think she came out strong. I think she came out well advised. I think that even overall in the whole debate, she seemed to have her bearings more so than Trump, especially when it comes to actual political questions, but that would reflect her experience versus Trump is not that experienced as a politician. Remember, he just ran. He skipped all the steps and just ran for president. So I expect that of her. Now, there were some rumors now, and this is a rumor. This is not fact check. This is not nothing, none of that. There's rumors that her earrings were like Airbud related, and she was being fed all this information that's swirling on the internet. And I was like, is that true? Is that possible? Is it because she's a Black woman? Or is it because she's a woman? Like, there had to be all kind of reasons why her she was probably getting fed information, because how dare she be as coherent to actually sound that great in the debate. I've seen other interviews of her, which I will say some of the interviews were choppy. So, but I do believe she was just very well coached, because the Democrats, to be honest with you, could not afford another bad debate, especially the one they had with Biden. So I think there was a lot of time. Maybe she even put off certain events and things. There was a lot of time put in to make sure she was well prepared.
I think she's also well prepared just because of her history, being an attorney, being the attorney general, being vice president, and then also serving in our Congress. So I think she was ready for that. Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say, Vanessa.
You know, because this is because stuff like that just irritates my soul. Because every time we see a sharp, intelligent, qualified Black woman or man, and they step up to the plate, and they're just, that's what they are. It's always like they cheated, or there has to be something wrong, or now we're going to change the bar. It's bullshit. It just, like, that irritates me. Kamala is extremely successful, whether you like her or not. She's extremely intelligent. She's qualified. But I just want to talk about, because, I think sometimes we listen to all these things on the internet. It's information is great because we can get it so quick, but it also sucks because there's so much misinformation. So I know that we were talking about this today, and there's a lot of things going around about Kamala hasn't done anything for the Black community. So I'm just going to say this. So look into the First Step Act, where she went in and advocated for reducing prison sentences for nonviolent offenders, specifically drug charges. She co-sponsored the Justice for Lynching Act, which makes lynching a federal crime. She co-authored the Justice and Policing Act, which aimed to create a national database, ban chokeholds, and also put a lot of stipulations on qualified immunity. So this is specifically, these are issues that relate to our community. Um, she introduced a lot of, the lift in livable income, which basically gives a tax credit to people in the low and middle income area. She also introduced the rent relief bill, where if you pay more than 30% of your income goes to rent, then she has pushed for some sort of funding or credits to give you. And then she's also championed for Black maternal health care, because that's also an issue. So whether you like Kamala or not, we're not going to sit up and say that she's not qualified. We're not going to say that, she hasn't done anything for the Black community. Those aren't true. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. There are some things that Kamala did as a attorney general, which, I disagree. I mean, as a district attorney, which, I disagree with. But at the end of the day, that's what they're there for. They prosecute. But she has done some things for the Black community, and she is extremely qualified and intelligent. And so I just want to, I don't want to get on here and even suggest that queen is not qualified, whether you like her or not.
Right. And I think that's where the problem is. People want to go toward the negative on everything. She's qualified. But let's look at some of the past of experiences and comparing some of what's going on. Who's Harris is more experienced than Trump, Reagan, and JFK. So this slide here actually shows that how it goes. You have JFK with 13 as a POTUS nominee. He is Senate and House, and then 8 for Reagan. He was a governor. He was just a governor, but that's not to say that's anything bad. But he was a governor coming, so his he just came straight from governorship. Senate and state Senate was Barack Obama. Trump had zero experience, and here we go. We have Vice President Kamala Harris with VP, Senate, AG, and DA. So out of all of these past presidents, we're looking at, we looked at Republican and Democrat. You see that she has the most experience. So falling back on someone that you don't like just by calling out things that are not true is not going to make things true. If you're just joining us, you're watching Fly Nubian Money, and we are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss us. Us queens, we love spending time with you, and I know you love spending time with us. So if you don't want to miss a show, make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Now listen, if you sitting there screaming at us probably, and we can't hear you, not loud enough, we need you to come on as a guest. It's really easy to do. All you have to do is email us, and you can email us at info@realvirtual.net. Now I'm going to spell that for you, and it is on the screen, info@REELVIRTUAL.net. So don't say you don't have a voice, because you have the option to come on and then debate us as well. We're ready for you. We like the conversation. But listen, here's one thing I do want to say before we move on into the conversation. There are a lot of comments. And the reason that we're not addressing some of the comments is because you don't have meat to those comments. We want meat. We don't want statements or hatred or and look, you're wrong. Can't tell us why. Let's have this intelligent conversation, because otherwise we're just not going to address things that just don't make sense, because they're don't make sense. And that's what I want to get to next. So guys, I want to know, let's start with you, Athena. Do you really feel that Kamala or Donald addressed issues that matters most to Black women? Why or why not?
I think that Kamala definitely presented issues that were very important to Black women. She spoke on women's rights, being able to, abortion rights, and that being questioned. And I think that those are specific things that will address us, even though it's a group of women. Listen, none of these candidates are going to address anything specifically for Black people. And I need to reiterate that. It's going to be a policy that happens to also benefit us, but they're not going to come out and say, this is for Black people. And honestly, I can understand that, because if they do, they're going to be vilified for it anyway. So nobody's going to touch that. So I know in the chat, we always have these debates, what did they specifically say for Black people? What did they specifically say for Black people? They're not going to do that. They're just not going to address it that way. I do think that one of my greatest concerns with Trump are the women issues. That is my concern. JD Vance said he don't like no childless cat lady, and that's a category I live in. So I know they're not like really trying to check for me as a group anyway. With Kamala and Biden, I do think my issue with them are going to be the issues of immigration and issues of war. I have not been happy with what that has been. So you see, every time I think about it, I get torn again. I'm like, oh, I get torn again. But yes,
it's not an easy choice. Let's face that, guys. When you're talking about our country, this is our country. Nobody wants to see their country so divided as it is right now. I can say whether you're voting for either or. Listen, at the heart of the things, we don't want to see our country burning. We don't want to see the division that it is. I think it's very sad, and we all need to address that, because we are a great nation when we are together. And so I think that needs to be said. I think you hit it right on the head, Athena. I really do.
But what I also want to say really quickly is that this government, capitalism, relies on people being at the bottom. And from my perspective of what is going on, what has happened in this country, and what this continues to happen in this country, none of these parties, Republican or Democratic, is invested in uplifting the Black community in a way that really elevates us, because they are invested in keeping us in the bottom so that capitalism can live. Other groups like Asians, LGBTQ, everybody and their mama and the son have gotten some form of reparations, some form of help, some form of bill that is specifically, clearly laid out specific for them. And I just don't feel like we have gotten our just due. Now, what our just due is, I really do align with Dr. Claude Anderson policies laid out in his book, Powernomics. If you have that copy, I think that will help us. But I don't think that either administrations would ever implement helping Black people in that vast of a way. I just don't think they're just going to do that.
I have to agree with you on that. Vanessa, earlier you did say that, we were talking about, Black women seem to be the backbone of the Democratic vote. Did you see anything in this debate that showed an acknowledgement of this, or are Black voters still being taken for granted?
Oh, I feel like Black voters are definitely taken for granted. I think that, because of conversations and panels like these, like what we're having right now, and just in general, I think that the more that these grow, the more that we see, because we did see an increase in independent voters. So people that were Democratic, unregistered as Democrat and re-registered as independent. So I think it jumped from like 3 to like 5% or something like that. But I think that's going to be the reality that kind of wakes the Democratic Party up. I do believe that when it comes to Black issues, generally the Democratic does have the best in interest. I wouldn't say like the greatest, but if you're comparing policies, overall. And like I said, we just have to get the Democratic Party to work for our voting in. Right now, it's like, I'm going to give you something. All right, I'll throw you something. But then, you have to do, you mentioned even the grants for the loans. So I think even doing something like that is it's just like, okay, well, you still have to create all these barriers of like, you have people who are self-employment, people who have been paying rent $2,000-3,000 and they still can't qualify for a home. Well, you see, they can pay this $2,000-3,000 rent. They have good credit. They pay their bills, but somehow they still cannot qualify for a loan. So I think tackling those structural issues like that when we're doing policies like giving $25,000, for a homeowner's credit, if you really want to create Black wealth, I think that we just have to restructure the policies so that they work more for us. But once again, I think that's going to come from us putting pressure as independents on both parties to get what we want, because I'm not married to a party. I'm not. I just
Mm.
look at the policies. If they work in my interest and work for my family's interest, then I'm voting for that. And sometimes that is, I voted on policies that are not necessarily for, in the popular view of of the Black vote, but I also that works better for my family. So overall I just think that everybody should be registered as an independent, and we should get back to a point where politicians are actually forced to do their jobs and work for
Mm.
your vote.
I totally agree with you on that. Me personally, I want to tell y'all all from the very beginning, I think all of them need to be washed out. If you've been there longer than 10 years in any capacity at all in our Senate, our Congress, our Supreme Court, guess what? You need to go. It's
Yes,
time for new
absolutely.
blood. And that's just how I feel about it. And I get a lot of backlash about that. But hey, that's just how I feel. Now, Moya, I do want to ask you a question. Among the policies on economy and education and healthcare, which one do you think has the most potential to make a significant impact on Black families?
So I do want to address something that you just said and Vanessa just agreed with. So when it comes to making real swaths of change in our society, one, it happened under Lyndon B. Johnson when he signed the Civil Rights Act. Lyndon B. Johnson was in Congress for over 20 years. And the reason why we were able to get the Civil Rights Act passed is because he had the political capital to make changes and to get the votes. And then when we talk about Joe Biden, once again in Congress for more than 20 years, and he's able to make changes in 3.5 years that are impossible to be done under 8 years. So there is something to having people who are qualified in there fighting for what needs to happen. And granted, in both of those instances, under Lyndon B. Johnson and under Joe Biden, people were pushing him, urging him in order to make those changes. So I do believe that we need people in there that have experience. Just because you're new, you don't have any experience. The reason why we were able to not get Trump elected again in 2020 is because of the power of Nancy Pelosi and the fact that she's been in there so long. So she was able to line up all of the votes needed into making sure that the races that needed to be won were won. So, and then when we go to, I want to address the comments in terms of immigration. When we're really looking at immigration, and when he mentions this whole cat and dog thing, not only is it racist, but he's having us talk about immigration. And many times us as Black people, we're stuck in 1990, meaning we're stuck where we had to choose, are we going to be the janitors? Are we going to be, because those are the jobs that are available to us. If we're now in 2024 and we have the ability to be a wide array of things, so stuck in this whole discussion of immigration, the migrants, the crime, it's as if we haven't moved past and haven't opened our eyes to what is possible for us to do. And so that's my biggest issue. The issue is economy. The issue is what she's going to do in terms of tax credits. This $3,600. Do we not remember the 2020, 2021 tax returns, people? Do you not remember all of that money that you had? That's because Biden Harris put that there so you can have an increased amount. You don't remember the PPP loans? That was Biden Harris. So, and we're talking about people. The only people that truly benefited from that were people who were already in position, people whose businesses were already there. So when people got that money, they were either to make their business grow and flourish, or they were paying somebody to teach them because they had this extra money in order to learn something new. So the economy is the most important aspect, but we're still here. When I look at these comments, we're still focused on immigration.
Moya, I actually have something to say about that. So are you saying that our issue as a community is that a lot of us aren't even putting ourselves in position? Because I would agree with you. I've had people come to me during that time asking if they can finally do their tax return just to get the PPP loan. I'm like, listen, you should have had all the you should have had all this back end stuff together before, so you can take advantage of it. Are people too late to the party? Are we BSing around and entertaining, and we're not really focusing on the jobs that will be the jobs of the future? We're focusing on getting our businesses together. And are we depending on the government and the system to carry us? And clearly they won't. So do we have a mindset of dependence?
So we have a mindset of dependence, yes, but it's also, it goes two ways, because when you looked at 2020 and 2021, you're going to see them making efforts, but the efforts are in an area that's too late. So I think you said it exactly right. You were right, Athena.
Actually, there was someone who said that we needed to be fact checked on that PPE.
I know. I'm now going to double check it right now.
Double check, but it is my understanding that the Democrats are the one who got that together, and Trump was just determined that it wasn't going to go out until he signed the checks with his name. So that's why a lot of people are thinking that Trump did it. So, while you do your fact checking, because you know what, I think we really should address this as well, right? So I think I'm right on that no, it was the Democrats who did that, but he refused. He wanted his name on those checks, even though Pelosi and the Democratic Party were the one to pull it together. Now, listen, let's start going into some of the fact checking, okay? Let's really start looking at this because we feel it's important to address. So let's pull up one of Trump's statements, and then let's go on to some fact checking.
Dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's in Springfield. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live.
Okay. Everybody's like, and I even think everybody on stage was a little shocked at that too. So let's look at some of our fact checking that we did from that night. We have some slides that we'll be looking at both sides. We're not just picking on one side. So facts. Millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly. I believe 21 million people, not the 15 that people that say, and this is quoted, y'all, and I think it's a lot higher than 21. Trump, that was false. Customs and border protection at the U.S.-Mexico border have reached record levels in the past 4 years under the Biden administration, but the number isn't close to the figures that he cited. The highest monthly migrant encounter tally recorded was in December 2023, when CBP processed over 300,000 immigrants. So that is one that was fact checked, and he was wrong on his numbers. And once again, it seems like this is the hot topic, the immigrants. And I would like to know, why do you think people focus so hard on that, Athena?
Being an immigrant, thank you for asking me this question. I think that the issue is a lot of people in this country, and I'm not going to just make it the Black community because that's not true, are concerned about their livelihood, are concerned about jobs. What I do know about America from being an immigrant and coming here, America is only interested in two types of immigrants. Ones that are highly skilled laborers and skilled labor in general, but also lower skilled labor. So what does that mean? You gotta be an engineer, you gotta be a geologist, you gotta be a nurse. You have to have an occupation that qualifies for that H-1B visa, which is how my dad got here because he's a geologist, and this is how I got here. Nobody gave us no handout. Started from the bottom, now we're here. But I do see the concern, because if we are just allowing people coming over to our borders without a proper process, that is an issue. But most of the people coming from the border, right, they are taking on and going into fields that are very much needed, going into fields where roofing, other skilled labor that frankly America is not greatly invested in. Most Americans go through a traditional school system. We're doing better with trade, but not as great, or there's more of a need that is being met. This government only cares about cheap and affordable labor and skilled labor. If we as a community are not putting in the time or advancing in ways where we can either be highly skilled labor or go into some trade, we are going to be left behind. And we cannot use the fact that the immigrants are coming. So what are you going to do? We cannot use the fact that there's going to be immigrants here taking over these jobs because America doesn't educate its population enough to have a population that naturally goes into these jobs. And that is, I think, the core of why that even happens.
You know, it's really interesting that you bring that up, Athena, because just this past week, there was an article out of Baltimore, I do believe, where they came out and said out of all of their school districts in Baltimore, all of the students failed math. They were nowhere near where they needed to be. So we are failing our children, and we are also failing our country, because everybody knows that if you don't have the right kind of education, you're not going to get the right kind of job to help you pull yourself up. As they always say, pull yourself up by a bootstrap. Well, guess what? You got to give us a shoestring so that we can start climbing. So that is a problem. I do want to say that, you know, with what we're talking about is the immigration. The Republicans and the Democrats reached a bipartisan agreement to get more security to the border, but Trump blocked it so he could campaign on others at the problems at the border. He's not even a president right now, but he's still directing the GOP on this. So let's be very fair about that and to bring that up, because it is an important fact for people to know. And this statement about, you know, the crazy statement about people eating dogs and cats, it's causing racists to target Haitians in Springfield, even though the mayor and the governor are saying that's not true. There was a bomb threat called into the city hall. Haitians put children out of school to protect them. So this is what hate does. So we want to follow up with what we're saying. And I do want to follow up with the fact check as well before we move on to the next question, because I think we should pull up another fact check this time. Let's look at another slide. But I do want to say, President Moya fact checked for us. She found that President Trump signed the bill into law on July 3rd. As of June 27th, 519 billion had been allocated to PPP loans, and 140 billion remained available. On July 30th, 2021, President Biden signed a bill to extend the deadline to apply for a PP loan to May 31st, 2023. So 2021. You got a Democratic Party and a Republican Party on that one. So we fact checked ourselves, so you can not freak out about that now. Let's go on to another slide, and let's see what it goes, how it goes for the next fact check. Trump said, I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. So COVID affected Trump and Biden's administration. Cumulative inflation over the course of Trump's presidency was about 7.8%, which to be expected. Year over year, inflation peaked under Biden at a 4-decade high of 9% in 2022 before falling to just over 3%. So Trump was not correct on that as well. So, all right. Well, Vanessa, you've got a lot of this great information. Can you give a little bit, just a little bit, because I know it can go deep, and we don't have time for deep, but there are a lot of factors that go into inflation. Can you just hit on some key points of why you think that this inflation that we have now, where did it come from just in the recent years?
Well, I think that, we saw with COVID, the market cooled significantly. So inflation dropped to kind of increase spending. And then spending started happening too much. And, we saw the interest rates on homes were amazing right? Because nobody was buying homes. So to slow spending, they raised the interest rates. And, I think that they've reached a level to slow spending, and now they're trying to reduce them, coincidentally right before the election. But inflation is dropping. So, but things are higher. I mean, and when you have inflation, things become higher. But we got to remember during COVID, there was no spending. Yeah, or there was a lot of spending because people were just, everything was cheap, you know? So I think just they're trying to just balance it out. The inflation has been crazy though, and it needs to go down. It is an issue.
It also is state by state as well. I mean, because I noticed a huge difference in certain staples in California that were different in Florida, that are much different in Kentucky as well. So it is also a state by state thing. Overall, people need to look at what's involved with that inflation. But you know, there are a lot of key elements to inflation. If you're just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Today's Friday, yay! And we are discussing the debate and, you know, is this going to affect the Black community? We're fact checking. We're talking about how we feel about the debates. Also, we'd love to hear what you have to say, but come on, guys, I haven't been able to address very many comments because I'm looking for that meat. I need some steak and taters in them comments and not just name throwing and hatred going on. That's not what we do here. So we do want to address some of your comments, but, you know, give them to us in a way that is thought-provoking and things that we can discuss and not just thrown out statements, because we can't get anywhere with those. Now, listen, if you want to get your money right and tight, because we do talk about that here, we help you with your money. You need to go to our website. It's flynubianmoney.com. And we have a lot of free resources there for you to help get your money right and get it tight. If you don't know what to do with it, you don't even know where to begin, we help you get to the starting line so that you could see the goal line. So we have a lot of great resources and courses. And so you want to make sure that you go over there and check that out. And then don't forget to follow and like. If you haven't done that, that's a simple thing. We don't really ask that a lot, but I'm asking you right now. Make sure that you hit that like button, share it out, talk to us, leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, because we are here having great conversations with you. All right, so let's go back to who we think won the debate. Right on time. I just love our producers. Love you, ladies in the background. We love you so much. You see how good they are. So here were the instant poll right after the debate, and it says who won the debate. And Vice President Kamala Harris got 63%, and past President Donald Trump got 37%. And after the debate, the number switched a little bit. So before the debate, Vice President Kamala got 37% and after 35%. Whereas after the debate, before the debate, Donald Trump got 53% and it went up slightly to 55%. So now listen, I want to actually hear from you, our audience, our family. Why do you think that is? What made those numbers change? Was it something that they said? Was it something in their policies that they addressed? I'm going to start with you, Moya. Do you think that these polls are representative of how we feel in our community? How do they make you feel?
Well, yes, the polls are very encouraging, right? It lets us know that people are watching and thinking of the issues. I think one of the things that's really interesting is how Black people, especially people that are watching us today, are so they're very, very opinionated and very pro-Trump. And so I think all of that is great, right? I think it's great that this is, you know, we're all here for a discussion. But what we really have to understand is our Blackness is on, that's what's being voted on right now. And when I say our Blackness, we could talk about the Haitians. We can talk about the fact that he's saying police immunity. We can talk about the fact that he wants to distance himself from Project 2025, because the reason why he has no policies is because 2025 is his policy. And if he says that, he's going to lose the people. So what we really have to do here, you guys, is look at what's presented on the other side and not look at the guy that we saw from The Apprentice. You guys, we got to look at what this man is presenting to us today in 2024 and how that doesn't align with our Blackness. When people in terms of other races or dare I say the poor whites, when they decide to stand up, they still can hide under the fact that they're white. You and I, we're going to always be black. So when he starts coming door to door and saying, do you have your papers? Guess what? You got to show him something. And this is not only just, so I just want us to understand what's at stake here. This is not Mitt Romney. This is not John McCain. We're not able to have this discussion. We have to understand what's at stake for us. It's very important.
Yeah. And with that being said, we have a wonderful slide about the Black Pack that is on Twitter. And I did not know about this conglomerate here, and I'm very happy to know about it now, and I have followed them. It is an independent, the Black Pack is an independent 527 working with partners from across the country to harness the political power of Black Americans. And it's led by Adrienne Schropp. So, and I hope I said that right, or it could be Schropp. But the greatest threats to the Black community, number one, another Trump presidency. 2, the Supreme Court. 3, white supremacy and nationalism. 4, lack of economic opportunity and jobs. And 5, wages and rising costs. So, ladies, Athena, do you agree with this slide?
You know what? I think that the points on the slide are valid. I maybe the order can be switched around a little bit. I do think these are issues that affect our community. What I really want to stress to everyone is that, yes, we are all Black people in the boat, right? We are all Black people in this vote, right? And what is going on in this election. We cannot take a back seat to anything. And I'm not even the type of person, if you vote Trump, if you vote Kamala, I'm not even have a dog in that race, because to me, a president is just a figurehead anyway. But what I want Black people to do is to be proactive in your own empowerment and not be dependent on these government systems to uplift us, because clearly they don't care. Clearly they're not trying to help us. Clearly they're not going to do anything specifically targeted for us, because if not, they would have already done it. What other group deserve it more than us? I don't know. Since somebody pointed out to me, I'm still waiting. I would love to have a nice little check come right. Oh, you are Black, and here are some reparations for you. But understanding politics, that they're not going to do that. AI is coming for us. Immigration, all these inflation, all these factors are putting a foot on our necks. What I want us to do is forge a path forward wherever you are, if that's through business, if that's through trade, if that's through economic empowerment, is the only way we will remain viable. And that's all I got to say.
I agree with that. So, we're coming on our hour, ladies, and, boy, these hours go so fast, but I'm going to leave us with this question before we go into final thoughts. There's a question, of course, everybody's like, is there going to be another debate? And Trump, as of today, says he will not debate Harris again. He said, second debate, she and Crooked Joe have destroyed our country with millions of criminals and mentally deranged people pouring into the USA, totally unchecked and unvetted, and with inflation bankrupting our middle class. Everyone knows this and all of the other problems caused by Kamala and Joe. It was discussed in great detail during the first debate with Joe and the second debate with Comrade Harris. She was a no-show at the Fox debate and refused to do NBC and CBS. Kamala should focus on what she should have done during the last most 4-year period. There will be no third debate. So there's your answer on that. I am sorry. I actually was pretty shocked the man showed up for this debate. So did I really think we were going to get another debate? No, I did not. So we are very appreciative of everyone being here. We have read your comments and we have addressed the ones that had a lot of meat to it. Remember, we talk about things that are important here, but we all have our own thoughts and minds as well as queens. And so I'm going to start with you, Vanessa. Can we get your final thoughts? And please tell us where we can find you.
So my final thoughts is vote on your local and regional elections, so that when we come into, presidential, elections, they don't seem so to matter so much. It's extremely important that you get out and know who's in your school board, who's your local councilman, who's your senators, who, just it's extremely important because those are the people that, create the bills and decide how your money is going to be spent. So that's number one. Number two, I encourage everybody to be independent. Look at the policies, not the people. Look at the policies, not the people. Look at the policies, not the people. You can find me at Vigo Paul. I had a great time discussing with you ladies today. Thank you for everyone in the chat. Thank you for everybody who logged on to hear us.
And we always love having you. You always bring great perspective. Make sure that you go and follow that queen. Moya, what are your final thoughts and where can we find you?
Yes. I want to say two things. I think it's important, right? Vanessa said to follow the policies and not the people. And I think we have to take a step back in this election to look at the person in this case, or look at the people and look at somebody who was on the debate stage. And when a violent mob of white racists attacked, he said, we, and then he changed it to they. He really let us know where he is and where he sides. And you can just watch the debate and you'll see that. And so I think if where he stands, he showed us that it's not aligned with us and that it would be I would like to think, our benefit to not sit this one out and to vote according to who would stand for you if the situation arises. My name is Moya. You can find me on Instagram at moya.business.
Thank you very much. And I always love how you come in and you be that little devil's advocate. We love it. We love that way about you and bringing the facts. Athena, please give us your final thoughts and where we can find you, please.
My final thoughts are going to come from this question by C.H. Golds. Where is Black People's Project 2025 agenda from our think tanks and institutions that can be presented to the people and both candidates? The answer to that, we already have our solution. It is in this book, Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. There's a chapter on a political agenda that has been outlined for Black people. However, we have not been able to enact this because we do not have the economic power to fund our liberation. So the first thing we need to do is to focus on the money, right? If you are a woman who wants to learn to confidently manage your finances and get the money that I'm talking about, you can find all my resources at wewealthwoman.com. Follow me on all my social medias at wewealthwoman on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and listen to me on the We Wealth Women podcast. Also, later on tonight, because I know we had a word today, we talked about politics, we talked about a lot. The stress, honey, I need a drink after this. But if you want to unwind and have some fun tonight, we will have a Fly Nubian Queen After Dark episode at 10 p.m. Eastern time, specifically on the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed there, please do. We are going to be talking about dating, gender war, level up, all that fun stuff. And we're actually rating dating profiles as well. So I would love to see you guys come and talk about relationships later on tonight.
Babies, get your jammies on and get your wine. That's going to be an awesome show. Don't you miss it. Don't you
miss it.
We
will be in our robes. The queens will be in our robes and we will be sipping our drinks. So join us later today.
I love it. And before I give my final thoughts, I just want to say a quick shout out to some of our family members who are always so dedicated in coming and talking to us. Terry Wilson, we love you. Joanna Dixon, Big Mac, Double A, you're always here. We love you being here. Gotti B, Paul has a lot of comments. We appreciate you, Paul, for being here. Also, Honey Brown Sugar and Armando Walls. And let me tell you, Queens, he did say something that I want to say that we are so appreciative of. He says, you Queens conversation is better than the debate. I tune in for you ladies, but refuse to watch the debate. Your show is better. Thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate you being here. And here's my final thoughts, y'all. Debates don't win presidencies. They don't. So no matter how you decide to vote, please make sure that you vote with your heart, You don't have to vote a certain way just because someone tells you to. Your vote is your right as an American citizen. So don't let someone try to shame you into voting for one party if it doesn't align with what you feel in your heart. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to make sure that you really understand what's at stake for our country as a whole. Because guess what? We do know that united we stand, divided we fall. And I think that people don't understand just how powerful that statement is. And you can find me on all my social media and a ton of free fun resources at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. So go hit me up. I got a lot of good things going on over there. So now I want to say thank you. You have been watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You also can listen to us on Spotify. Go on over there. Go on over there. Put us in and take us on your jog in the mornings, with your coffee in the mornings, or even, maybe late night when you can't sleep, put us on. We got some good stuff to talk about. But if you don't want to miss anything, all you have to do is text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. And finally, we always have great topics and we love talking with you. So if you are interested in being a guest on our show, please make sure that you email us. It's as simple as that. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@REELVIRTUAL.net. We thank you for being this. Happy Friday. We appreciate you. Now let's go make sure that you tune in tonight to After Dark. All right. We'll see you next week. Have a blessed weekend, everyone. Bye.